Okay. Again, for those who don't know me in the audience, my name is Pilawa with National Grid. Been 34 years with the company, gone through an agreement with National Grid. Since 2009, I became involved with the DG part of the business. So I've seen a few changes, both the SAR and talk about it and so forth. But what I wanted to do is just give everybody a flavor out there as to what happened over the few years in New York versus New England. National Grid has New England also, but if you can take a look at what happened in the last 2 years, especially last year, it was primarily attributed to the grandfathering of the net metering credits in June 1st. But if you look at the numbers, just last year alone, we received 6,133 applications. 30% of that, what we would call projects that are complex. Anything, I would say anything 500 kW up to 2 megawatts is in that mix. So we've seen roughly about 300 applications that, as Melissa was talking about, if you heard the term study, they had to go through the study process. So, you know, it's a significant number of work that we had to do internally to start doing those studies. And some of you may have been, you know, into that situation now where you're waiting for a study. Again, we apologize for it. It's just that how I call it, tsunami that hit us last year. You know, we did start staffing up, but the problem is trying to get the, you know, people into the group, and the learning curve is just huge, especially on the generation side of the business. Again, just a little, as you say, fashion seatbelts. The numbers, if you can see, the megawatts received. We beat New England last year by over 100 megawatts. And remember, New England's been in this for quite some time now. They've been growing much faster, but as you see, New York is starting to catch up. Last year, again, interconnected was 47 megawatts. Expect to see that number probably by the end of this year, probably double. And in 2017, probably triple, quadruple. What we're also seeing right now, we talk about community generation projects. Just this month alone, we're seeing roughly 300 community net metering projects in a range of 1.5 to 2 megawatts. So here we go again, another tsunami, another surge of applications. So, again, probably a lot of this is going to be repetitive, what Melissa was saying. One thing I do have to say, this SAR change this year we've seen probably was the most coordinated, most cooperative SAR that I've seen since the start of it in 1999. All parties got together. You know, I sat across the table from Melissa on a couple of the joint sessions, and each brought something to the table on this. So I think everybody was a winner on this. So hopefully, you know, we can start moving when the SAR becomes effective at the end of April. Like I said, you know, this thing's been in place since 1999. This is what we call the playbook for interconnections for projects. This is something that developers, customers, and utilities have to work with. Okay, so you know, if you're a new developer in the area coming into the state, please, this is what I call the Bible. Review it, understand it. If you have questions, contact us through our website. We have an email, and we have several other individuals, including myself. They have our email addresses on the website. But please, I'll help you an awful lot to read it, understand it, and get you through the process. Again, old news, I guess. 2000 to be completed by the end of March. Well, a week earlier by the end of March. Again, April 29th is what I saw in the order, is when it becomes effective. So the current SAR can be found on the PSC, on our website. We have a link along with the PSC's website. The other thing we also have to be recognize is that not only you have to abide by the SAR, National Grid and other utilities in the state have what they call electric service bulletins. These also have to be followed because some of those electric service bulletins involve the construction of your service, whether it's a primary metering pole service, primary metal clad switchgear. If your project can only be served at, we'll say 34.5, 46 kV sub-transmission, then there's an ESB for that. So try to understand some of those electric service bulletins. Also, ESB 756B is kind of the kind of copies the SIR. So ESB 756B, 756A is any projects, any DG projects outside of the SIR. And particularly now with that, it's going to change a little bit, especially with the bump to the 5 megawatts. So. Again, as Melissa, like I said, it's going to be repetitive, but I'll just add some things and so forth. Again, the process with the SIR started back in 2015. I've seen the last SIR, we had one in July 2015, it was minor, but before that, there was significant changes done in that SIR, which was kind of, I think it took 45 days. So it was pushed, a lot of things were missed. So, it goes out to the PSC, the NICEA, the other DG stakeholders that, we started a process last year to get where we are today. And, I think it was more of a better collaborative for everybody. All the utilities were at the table through the joint utilities group. Big thing was, what we heard from the PSC and what we heard from the other DG stakeholders is eliminate the barriers in the process. I think we've done that with some of the projects going forward with the new SIR. Some projects are still going to have to go through a little more detailed screens and more studies. Okay, that's unfortunately that's the nature of the business. But for the most part, like I said, it took some barriers away from some projects that can move more quickly through the process. Again, we're not anti-solar utility, we're not anti-DG, but we still, at the end of the day, we have customers out there, and we have line workers out there. We still have to maintain safe and reliable system. Okay, both for the non-DG customers and for DG customers. So, we don't want to be the guy with the black cat. It's just the nature of the beast that safety and reliability still has to be met. As Melissa talked about, technical standards, that's being handled. There's some changes already in the SIR, but there's some other items that need a little more discussion in the technical collaborative. So, the big thing is the anti-islanding, which is, when we talk to developers like Mike Roach, and not calling them out though, but DT, the 3-letter word, DTT, and everybody would go, well, what's that? Well, it's what we call as protection against anti-islanding. Can be costly, time-consuming. Also, you also have to get Verizon in part of the process. Not knocking Verizon, but that can also take a long time. Because basically it's a communication system, DTT is a communication system to be able to have our control center trip your generation off in event of something occurs on the line. What we don't want to have happen is have you run your generator serving our customers and starting to burn motors out, causing all sorts of voltage issues on the system. And if we need to repair that line, we have to make it safe for our line workers too. So that's what DTT is. It's basically tripping the generator off the system. We at National Grid, showing my showing my heart. No, my father's got 42 years. He still calls it Niagara Mall because he retired when it was at Niagara Mall, and he still reminds me of that day. The other thing is we are doing some piloting with some alternatives to DTT. And Mike's over a couple projects we're working with some of his folks on. It's called Grid Edge. It's an alternative to traditional DTT. What grid edge is just a pulse line carrier. What it is, basically, we'll be able to trip your solar system through our distribution system, our electric distribution system. Right now, we're looking at several projects throughout the state to utilize that technology. So hopefully, we have enough projects that is successful that we can start using the grid edge technology throughout our service territory instead of using the traditional direct transfer trip. Hot topic right here. I know Melissa said I was going to talk about it because this is one of my pet peeves in the SIR revisions, restructuring the queuing process. As we look at the SIR today, if you apply, you have 12 months to sit in that queue on that feeder, whether you want to move forward or not move forward. That becomes a burden to projects that want to move forward but can't, or they can, but they're going to bear the cost of those significant upgrades. To give a good example, if we have a developer submit 3 2-megawatt projects on a certain feeder, okay, on a certain day, they have 12 months to stay in that queue. Now, fourth developer comes in, wants to put a 400 kW project on that feeder, guess what happens? That developer, that fourth project, is the one, if he wants to move forward, we still, when we do our studies, we still have to recognize that other 6 megawatts. Problem is, we don't know whether the developer is going to move forward with those or not. Problem is now you got the 400 kW, probably is going to bear some costs with some impacts, but not to the magnitude that he's going to be told that he's got to pay $400,000 if he wants to move his project, 400 kW project ahead. So it's becoming an issue. I talked to Melissa earlier, I didn't see it in the order. I guess it's going to be put down to the technical group, the working group, to figure it out, but it is very important. I know I had suggested putting timelines between the study, the preliminary study, the final study, and the construction process. In other words, if you don't meet, financially commit during that process, you're taking out of the queue. Okay, this kind of separates the real projects and the not so real projects. Okay, hopefully something will come out of that because it's really, really critical. Question?
Mike, in your feeling, would that be like reset place in queue or kick down
the way we worded
start
it was
all over?
reassess. We will reassess your project in that particular queue.
So you're not presuming it's going to happen, or forced to presume that it's going to happen.
Right. The current, like I said, the current SAR today is 12 months. Last week, I just had one of my analysts take a look at projects that were older than 12 months. We just canceled out, removed 275 projects out of the queue.
How big was the queue?
I wish I had the number, how many megawatts it was, but it was significant.
Mike, how big was the queue that you removed 275 out of?
Well, what was my numbers earlier? I went back to
300 something.
a couple thousand. Let's say a few thousand. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A few thousand.
So
And that's just the 272 that we received responses back from developers to cancel. Now we still have to go back and look at the ones that didn't respond to us, cancel them out. Because we have to give you 30 days to cancel it out, to let you know if you want to cancel or stay in the queue. But the reason we get back, if you do respond within 30 days, and the reason you sent to us saying, well, I want to keep it active, that's not a significant reason why. You have to start some sort of process, whether it's through construction or something like that. If it's something where NYSERDA is delaying your application for some reason, that's legitimate, okay? But just saying to us, I want to keep it in the queue, it's not. Unfortunately, it's going to get reassessed. More than likely, it's going to be canceled. Okay? We have to abide by the SIR. Better cost estimates. Yeah, 25% is the factor that's going to be used on our cost estimates, as Melissa said earlier. That was a hot topic. in the discussions. Cost sharing is another big thing. This needs to be addressed, associated, and it goes along with the queuing issues. Because, if you have 4 projects, maybe all 4 projects are sharing the cost. But the problem is, nobody wants to address what's the percentage of the share? Who wants, so it's another thing that's got to be discussed, for the next several months. We have a line extension cost sharing policy. Some people have used, use that type of approach. It's still not foolproof. It still has some flaws. So hopefully the cost sharing thing gets addressed in the hopefully the next several months. Some other things. Now that we have an answer on the SIR, we're going to be probably doing an outreach session with external stakeholders, such as yourself. Right now, it's either April 7th or April 14th. Don't quote me, but we'll be sending an email out. Some of you have already got an email about an outreach in March. It's gone. It's canceled. So might as well let you know. You're probably going to get the email when you get back to your office this afternoon. So, I thought it was good that we did cancel it, especially with the SIR. I would hate to go in and say, well, these what could come out of the red line for the SIR, but now we have a more definitive order from the PSC, and we know what's going to be in the SIR effective April 29th. One other thing is, Melissa was talking about the pre-app report. Yes, it's a great thing. It is great that it was able to come to a conclusion on that. But remember, I just want to warn you, everybody, that pre-app report, the information is good is the day you get it. Okay. Because remember, the second day after we give you back the results, you get 4 formalized applications come in, and they same feeder. The information we gave to you now is not correct. So, and the other thing is, the pre-app report doesn't become effective until the SIR becomes effective. And I know what's going to happen. We're going to probably get 100 pre-app reports submitted in the next couple of weeks, and wanting to get a pre-app report. Please wait till April 29th until when it's official. Question?
Yeah, so in that case, how hard would it be to have just some notification that you got the pre-app report and you get notified that 2 other people, so you know that. You just get notified that, with a certain amount of time, 2 other people now apply to that line, so you know what's going on. It shouldn't be too complicated.
You want to talk about that? Yeah, because that was a concern.
2 things that come to mind. I mean, one is that what this is all moving towards, and I forgot to mention it, was just like hosting, something they're calling hosting capacity maps. And it's not tomorrow, and that's why this is a big step forward. But that's like a real-time thing where you can actually, pay for a subscription or log whatever hour it's set up. You go on and you see real-time exactly what Mike's saying. This is what it was yesterday, you knew, but now this is what it is today. So that's where it's headed.
That would make a lot
I'm
of
going to get
sense.
to that with another bullet point, but go ahead.
Oh, great.
No, go ahead.
And then the other part was just, I think, the queue management that Mike is talking about. Like, as we actually put in place more formalization of how to manage that, transparency on that is also a piece of it.
Okay,
So
sure.
you can go somewhere else and actually look and see who's in your queue.
Right.
Whether it's ends up in the hosting capacity map or somewhere else, I don't know. But those 2 things I think will really help solve it.
Okay, great.
Chris, do you have a question? Something over here?
Well, at what point does that feeder information change to, is it once the final CSER is paid for, that would affect that feeder's detail that's given on that first step, or what point is that information?
That once, if we get a formalized application, then your pre-app report, basically, all bets are off. Okay, because now we have, because it's based on the formal application. Now he gets into the queue. Remember, as Melissa said, the pre-app report does not get you in the queue. Okay?
Right.
Okay. The other thing with the pre-app report, it's not going to give you a ballpark estimate of interconnection costs. All the pre-app report, like Melissa said, is going to give you this information, and you're going to have to make your best judgment, to go forward or to, not look at this site, maybe look at another site. So again, like I said, some of these projects will get passed through the screen, go right straight to construction. Some, you're still going to have to do an interconnection study called the CSER. That's where the cost of interconnection will be identified. Another thing we're trying to start back up again is some of you have been involved. We had monthly contractor calls about a year ago. Unfortunately, with the surge of work, we had to curtail those because we just couldn't keep up with the work and try to have a contractor call once a month. But we found some of those calls were beneficial because basically what we did, we gave you updates on what's going on. So hopefully we're going to start that up. I can't guarantee when, but it will come. Okay. Melissa talked about it. Working closely with NYSERDA is important. Because what we want to try to work closely with them is we want to try to find out when they're going to start setting up more programs. More programs means more applications. So what we want to try to do is work closely, especially with the ombudsman from the PSC, and NYSERDA has an ombudsman. Try to work closely with them and their program managers to try to gauge where, what programs they're going to come out, so we can, internally our staff gear up for this additional tsunami of applications. Okay, so that's critical. Another thing was certifying developers in New York State. Just like some of you may be PEs in here, you have to maintain a certain amount of hours, credits, to keep your PE. What we like to see happen is developers, you want to do business in New York State, and I think this is something NYSERDA should take the ball on, is have, create a certification program. And what I mean by that is have developers come to a utility outreach. And, because what we find out is a lot of our problems, as I could attest to this, is that some of the developers we have don't attend any of their outreach. Those are the ones that we have issues with, because they don't understand the process. So if you attend an outreach, NYSERDA will give you a certification, or can keep your certification, something like that. I think it's just good practice.
So you're saying that certification still goes through NYSERDA, not the utility, right?
No, what we would do, we would hand the paper to the developer and you could give to NYSERDA. Again, this is only in the talking stages right now, but it was an idea that was floated. Because we see so many issues with people when we're trying to go through the process, through especially technical stuff and so forth, that causes the delay in the interconnection
So
process.
I'm being quite clear, you want to control the certification process, not
No,
NYSERDA?
we would ask NYSERDA if they will control it, because they're incenting the project. I think that's just, it's good practice. Again, it was just a suggestion from some of the utilities, and let's see where NYSERDA goes with that.
If I could just add that,
Sure.
the other piece is that, I know NYSEA is also proposed, there are issues, I think, that just don't get passed back in a super systematic way. Your engineering team hears about them on this project or that project, and nobody gets a big overview. So when we were in Manhattan for that meeting with the utility execs and Audrey Zibelman, one idea was, could we collate, open up a better channel so that we could get a lot of this information back in a really systematic way and help do trainings or help just provide it to developers so folks know what the common problems are, and if they need to get up to speed on something, they can do so. And that may not be mutually at all exclusive with that, but just that's another angle that people are brainstorming, just how to better share information and feedback so it doesn't get lost in some engineer's, desk or
Yeah, because there's a lot of out-of-state developers coming in, they haven't practiced in New York on projects, and when you talk to them about, have you read the SAR, they look at you like deer in headlights. They're like, what's the SAR? So, yeah, I think again, it's just good practice. So, one thing we started on, because we're starting to see a larger contingent of larger developers doing a lot of larger portfolio projects. We're starting to have what we call as key developer account management, having one of us assigned to a developer that has 30, 40 projects across the territory in National Grid area, and they have a portfolio of those projects. And what we want to try to do is have one developer, have one contact at National Grid. Instead of having, some developers will have projects spread across our system and talking to 3 different people. But what we want to try to do is have one point of contact. So far, it's kind of worked out pretty good. And what that National Grid person's task is, one of the tasks is, ask the developer, you have 30 projects. What ones in this portfolio are more of a priority if you want to see go through the process, first, and through the construction first, then you may have some projects that you're not quite ready to move on. So it's so far, we just kicked it off. Seems like it's working out pretty good. We have 2, 3, 5 developers right now in the so-called key account developer manager program. This is, as I was talking one bullet earlier, I think this is where you're going to be able to eventually see what projects are in the queue. Last year, the PSC mandated that all the investor-owned utilities in the state come up with an online application portal system. Simply, the system's basically, you're going to be able to put your application online. The intent is to get out, sign up, put the application in. It's going to have bells and whistles. What we see a lot is some maybe information, people submitting through the email right now, getting a rejection on something, missing an account number or something like that. With the online portal, you'll be able to, you won't be able to submit an application if there's errors on it. So hopefully that's going to help. Also, it will be able to tell you, once you put that information in, this should give you a good idea of who's in the queue on that feeder. Over the next 4 or 5 years, this online portal, is going to go from phase 1, which is, third quarter of 2016, we'll get it up and running. Strictly going to be an online portal for application submittals. Down the road, hopefully, you'll be able to punch in your application. You'll be able to tell you whether your project is a yes or no on that feeder. Okay? But the problem is there's still a lot of work at the utilities because we have all these other databases. You got to, make sure those databases talk to this online portal. The other thing is 50% of our system is not monitored real time. So we don't know, what's loading or what's information's out there. So that's going to take time. That's going to take some money down the road to get hopefully all our systems, our distribution system, real time with that information. Once that's done, then this will be a good thing to have down the road. And as Melissa talked about, this is another thing we're working on right now. We're going to try to get some other items on there. Chris's pet peeve is, where's the solar website on National Grid? So we're working on that. Hopefully, if some of you have been in our website lately, it's been revised. So I had to look for where the DG website was, and it was under metering. Under metering. And naturally, I sent off a nasty gram to our IT people, so with several others internally. Hopefully that gets fixed, but it was also work, and it was really credit go out to Chris, because he sat down with Melanie and Little John, about, was it last year or last summer, and talked about the solar website. So that's going to come hopefully by the end of 2016. I think that's it. Yep, all set.